What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the pregame show. This ain't the first time. If it is your first time, we're just here talking ball. We're here to tell you what to expect. We're here to give you some score predictions, some bowl predictions. We're just here to talk football. We never try to keep you more than 15, 20 minutes because we understand you got stuff to do. Business out of the way first. Thank you for all the support throughout the season. Thank you for getting the subscribers up. We've gotten up to I think it's 130 at this point within essentially 2 months because I haven't even been doing this for the full football season. So another round of applause for Gamecock Nation or Gamecock fans in general for being able to help and being able to support me. So do not forget to like and subscribe. Business out of the way. Let's talk football. First and foremost, let's talk what to expect. On the offensive side of the ball, put it out on X earlier this week. I personally feel where Clemson can somewhat get a bit predictable on offense. Now, with that said, they will give you a sense of false similarity, if you will, where they line up in a bunch of the same formations. Like they noticed in the past 2 or 3 games, they line up in trips, either left or right, and they ran about 6 or 7 different plays out of it with the same tear motion with Will Shipley, and I'm drawing a blank on the other Clemson running back who's an absolute dude. In that same tear motion, where they'll run several different plays. Where they'll run a screen. They'll run a screen to Will Shipley or that other running back. They'll run a tunnel screen to that receiver. There'll be a quarterback draw with Cade Klubnik. Bunch of different things they do out of the same formation. However, watching the football game for the first time, not only against, I believe it was, who did I watch? I think I watched Miami and I watched North Carolina and somebody else. I cannot remember. But very predictable. First time I watched the game, you can kind of pick and choose when it was going to be run and pass. Now, if I'm able to do that, surely, hopefully, Clayton White in the defense are as well. But again, the thing that worries me the most is not necessarily the X's and O's. Not that they absolutely have star-studded players above and beyond what you have on the defense side of the ball. It's the struggle South Carolina has had tackling this season. And with that, these two running backs are tough SOBs, to say the least. They're going to run through you. So South Carolina and that defense are going to have to tackle and consistently do so. What you cannot afford to do is tackle them behind the line of scrimmage or have them behind the line of scrimmage and then do these arm tackles that sometimes some have been famous for doing. You will have to tackle the whole entire game. If you don't, it's going to be rough. Outside of that, no one necessarily scares me. They're tight end, Brenningston, I believe. However, he can be a matchup nightmare. They use him quite a bit. I think he's the third leading receiver on the team. He's a big boy. Now, he's not going to outrun you, but he's more of a possession tight end. He's open. Anytime you throw him the ball, you just got to put it at the right spot. On the defensive side, I put out a tweet, and I keep saying tweet. I guess technically called an X, but that just sounds weird. Put it out saying this defense looks scary. Now, a lot of people took it and was like, well, they've lost 4 games. I'm going to help you out here. Clemson has not lost 4 games because of their defense. They've lost 4 games because of the offensive turnovers, which we'll get to that in a little bit because that could possibly help you win this game Saturday night, tomorrow night. They have very inconsistent spells of just bad plays or bad execution on offense. They didn't lose these games because of the defense. They lost them because of the offense. Now, with that being said, there are some vulnerabilities. You can have success running the football. However, it's not going to be east to west. It's going to be north to south between the tackles, where at times you have been kind of lackadaisical at best in terms of getting any kind of movement up front. You can run the ball against them. And a lot of fans And a lot of fans said that on Twitter. And I never said you couldn't. History will kind of tell you what you've been able to do this year. A lot of Mario Anderson's success has come off of broken tackles or around the edge. Not that he hasn't had success between the tackles. From what I can recall, most of it's outside on the edge where he can kind of break loose and make defenders miss or run them flat over. Not in between the tackles. Now, if you can do that, you force Clemson into a long game. Because if you're able to be balanced, because you cannot come in and just throw 40 times a game, because this is why I said they're scary. That's what they do well. That's what they stop you from doing. If you want to try to come out and throw 40 times a game, not going to happen. Last weekend, I told you, let Spencer Rattler throw the football if there was going to be 40 to 45 times a game, if it took you to win, if it allowed you the chance to win. This is a completely different defense than you faced Kentucky last weekend. You're going to have to be balanced. Now, if you are able to run it up the middle or have any kind of success in the running game, that's going to help you out. But in that same breath, Clemson doesn't need to bring 6 or 7 when they pressure, and rarely do they. Now, they will, but they have full confidence in their defensive line and their edge, TJ Parker, to get after you. And they do. They do it at a consistent rate. And even when they do that, when they bring in a 5th on the linebacker, they might have that 6th linebacker kind of spying. And when they notice Spencer's not going anywhere, they come in. So that front for Clemson on defense is extremely good. And it's scary. In the passing game, that's where a lot of things kind of got lost in translation. And I could have done a better job explaining that, but here's what I'll explain to you now. If you cannot run the football Saturday night, it's over. Sorry. I do not see an avenue where Spencer Rattler can throw the ball 40 plus times and you have no kind of balance whatsoever. I don't mean the type of running game where we're like, hey, we're going to run it and get a yard of carry. You have to make them honor the run, where the play action scheme becomes an actual liability for that defense, where they don't know what to do. Because the middle of the field can be and will be open, especially in passing downs, if you have success running the ball. These linebackers will cheat up. They will. They have and they do. But you have to give them a reason to cheat up. And if you can't, it's going to be a long day. So I see this game going one or two ways, and we're not giving you a score prediction yet. But as of right now, I would put my eggs in the basket of more so who's going to come out. Who do you trust more? Do you trust South Carolina's defense or do you trust Clemson's offense? Now, before you answer, past 2 games, technically 3 out of the last 4 outside of a quarter and excluding Jacksonville State, this defense for South Carolina has been pretty good. Again, I don't even want to put all of that second quarter on the defense. And we've talked about it here on this show several times already. A lot of that second quarter against Texas A&M was being put in bad field position to begin with, and you're already playing with a hand behind your back. Now, a lot of you said, hey, it's just Vanderbilt. Who cares? Well, then you go out against Kentucky and you stop a very good running back and hold them for like under 60 yards or around 60 yards, and then you hold them to 14 points. So the defense has been good the past month, if you will, outside of essentially 5 quarters. I think that's fair. You've played pretty daggone good. 5 out of your 16 have been The rest of them have been extremely good. But then you look at the Clemson offense. And again, they haven't wowed you at all. Now, they've made plays because they have really good athletes at that running back position. Not only in the running game, but in the passing game. They have receivers that can burn you, but not that scare you. Not that should scare you. So who do you trust more? Do you trust the defense and the tackling? Do you trust your defense to be able to get off the field on third down? Or do you trust Clemson to continuously rely on running the football down South Carolina's throat? Who do you trust more? In my opinion, tells you who you should go with for the game. Now, I have problems trusting both of them. And there's a reason being, not because Carolina's not capable of doing it and Clemson's just worlds better than South Carolina, because I don't think that's the case. I do see this being a 14 or 10 to 14 point game, one way or the other. I would not be shocked if South Carolina won or Clemson won. But let's give you my bold predictions before we go and give you the final score predictions. Bold prediction number one. Cade Klubnik has 3 turnovers. Now, I don't think they're all going to be on interceptions, but Cade has shown tendencies to put the ball in not good situations. He will force it, and if you are in the right place, in the right coverages, you can capitalize on that. I do think Cade can and is capable of having 3+ turnovers. The second one is this. I think Rattler has a final farewell game that is one to remember. Now, there's a whole lot of different ways you can interpret this, so I'm not going to just leave it vague and say, told you so. I think Spencer Rattler throws for four touchdowns. Well, wait a minute, Joseph. I thought you just said that their defense is bold predictions. We're here to explain that once again. Bold predictions are not necessarily the things that are the most plausible or probable. It's here to say I see an avenue for it, but it's less than 10% chance. That's what bold predictions are for me. So Cade having three turnovers, Spencer Rattler throwing for 4 touchdowns, and the final one is this. I think you force your hand, and Carolina fans might not like this. I think there is an avenue, albeit, whatever that term is, slim. I think you can hold this Clemson offense to under 14 points. I think you're going to have to win, but I think you do. And then that raises the question of what are we going to do during the offseason, which I know South Carolina fans are going to love. So with that being said, score prediction. I am going to go, and I wanted to waver and say, hey, I think Clemson will have enough, but I wrote an article earlier this week. And in that article, there was Clemson by the numbers. They're 1-3 on the road, with the sole win being against Syracuse. Cade Klubnik is a very different quarterback from at home and on the road. And again, on the road, they have not had the environment they're going to see this weekend. Now, a lot of people will tell you, Joseph, don't do it. Don't pick South Carolina because of the home stadium. And I'm not. I'm picking South Carolina because I'm looking at the numbers. And the numbers tell you Clemson does not play well on the road. And that was in environments that had 20-plus fans in Miami. And Duke, credit to them, I believe they played at Duke. Yes, they played at Duke. Nothing is going to be equivalent to what they're going to see Saturday, on top of Spencer Rattler figuring it all out and just doing what he does best, in my opinion. And that's finding a way to win. So for me, home environment, Spencer Rattler, I trust that more than I trust Cade and Clemson on the road. So I am taking South Carolina 31, Clemson 17. He did it. Yes, he did. 14-point game. I hope you enjoyed the show. We will hopefully see you Sunday on a great end to the regular season. Until then, I'll see you around.